Hello, ladies and gents. Hagbard Celine here on another beautiful afternoon, and today we're going to be delving into Mr. Neely's beautiful little diatribes. As it were, this is his 10 Commandments. I'm sure it's going to be quite enlightening for everyone involved. The first of his 10 Commandments is stop snitching. To snitch is to willfully and deliberately volunteer information about a person or persons with the specific intention of gaining direct or indirect personal favors and or praise from racists. When victims of racism, or non-white people are just inherently victims of racism, carry messages about and or witness against any person or persons in a manner that gives aid and comfort to racists, such actions only help to promote injustice. Do not tell on other non-white people at all, ever. No matter what, do not do. It is just and correct for all persons to the best of their will and ability to avoid situations wherein they believe they may be tempted to and or expected to snitch. Literally, his first rule is no snitching. Snitching does not mean speaking to protect yourself from false accusations or other unjust acts. Snitching does mean to say something to try to get ahead of someone else by taking unjust advantage by his or her lack of correct judgment, i.e. having broken the law. Stop name-calling. To name-call is to call a person by any name other than the name, title, etc. that person chooses to be called and or chooses to call him or herself. Name-calling is a simple but major act that promotes serious conflict between one person and another. Among black people, it oftentimes leads very quickly to fighting and killing. This is his writing, not mine. This is 100% his. I would not have made that statement. The results of name-calling is never worth the grief that such practices promote. To avoid name-calling a person, it is better to practice describing what it is that a person does or says. Example, instead of calling a person a liar, repeat what it is that the person said and say that what was said was not true, then explain why. Always explain why. Well, yeah, if you don't have a way to explain why, you probably shouldn't be calling people out as liars or anything like that. Instead of calling a person racist, describe what it is that the person says or does that is characteristic of a racist. Say that it is the type of thing that a racist says or does. Mind you, racist is a white person. That's what that means. Racist is white person. Victim of racism is non-white person. Do not, however, call the person a racist. It is also important to know and understand what to not do when a person calls you a name. Do not say anything, do not fight, do not kill. Really, you have to lay these things out directly to black people in an already civilized society. This is what you're going to promote as a good idea. Alright. Stop cursing. To curse people is to use profanity towards them in a manner that it is likely to be thought of as insulting or demeaning. This often results in the promotion of hostility. Yes, it does. The hostility promoted oftentimes serves no constructive purpose. This is also true. The use of curse words oftentimes promote name-calling, discourtesy, and unnecessary fighting and or killing. Yes, it can, although you'd have to allow it to escalate that far over saying, you're a faggot, and then the gay man or person you're accusing of faggotry were to just assault you immediately. Stop gossiping. To gossip about a person is to say something about that person or someone other than that person that you would not be willing to say directly to that person at the same time and place with those other persons listening. Why are you laying this out so simply? This is literally the rules that Neely laid out for his people. These are so goddamn basic. Gossip promotes injustice. Oftentimes, it leads to hostility, which in turn often leads to snitching, name call. Okay, I'm getting a pattern that all of these are going to then apply to the previously haven't mentioned rules. We get it. You don't have to keep doing this. This is bizarrely religious. Gossip promotes confusion and unnecessary suspicion. It serves no constructive purpose. Okay, fact. Stop being discourteous. To be discourteous is to say or do something that shows a lack of consideration for what a person is doing or saying, or trying to do or say, to promote knowledge or understanding of his or her thought, speech, or actions. To be discourteous means to not allow a person to reveal and or explain his or her intentions. It means for a person to speak and or act as he or she chooses with little or no regard of how others will be affected. By the way, a white woman in a later video this week actually promotes the opposite of this. Discourtesy often breeds hostility and or confusion. Discourteous speech and or action often promotes name-calling, cursing, fighting, and yes, we get it. Any of these things can eventually lead black people to kill each other. Might explain the crime stats. If someone is discourteous to you, do not help to promote it by speaking and or acting with discourtesy towards him or her. Try to avoid contact with such persons. Say only to them what is absolutely necessary. He gets back to that a little bit later. Stop stealing. I'm not even going to touch this one. I'm just going to read it. It's too funny. To steal from a person for any reason is to promote injustice. To steal, even to survive, is to promote injustice. To steal, even from one who has stolen from you, is to promote injustice. To steal, even from an enemy, is to promote injustice. To steal, even from a racist, is to promote injustice. Seriously, these are mantra-like. These are creepy and chanty. Stealing causes a person to put a greater value on the thing stolen than the value of justice. Also, once a person starts stealing, he or she develops a tendency to continue to do so. In a world socio-material system dominated by white supremacists, racists, all people are encouraged to steal. No, they're not. Or to condone stealing. No, they're not. By some people under some conditions. Not really. The one that we would give, perhaps, as a society would be to steal to survive. Those white people who practice white supremacy have stolen more things from people and have stolen more people from themselves, interesting philosophical concept, than any other category of people in the known universe. Under white supremacy, stealing is particularly condoned if it's done through skillful use of deceit. If a person can steal from another by gaining his or her confidence, and or by skillful trickery, it is sometimes considered not to be stealing. But the so-called game of so-called living, no, those people are called con artists. It's against the law and they're put in prison. What are you talking about? When stealing helps to maintain, expand, and or refine the practice of white supremacy, it is not generally considered to be stealing. It is sometimes called progress. Alright, friend. The system of white supremacy functions in such a manner that non-white people are not only expected to steal, but encouraged to steal. Holy shit, why did you have to make this list? I mean, really. They are trained, bribed, and or enticed from the time that they are small infants. What? No. They are taught to want many things that will deliberately be made more difficult for them to obtain. No, man, that is an intercultural issue that needs to be worked on. It has nothing to do with white people. After being encouraged to want certain things, they are then denied the means of acquiring them without robbing, stealing, and or killing in order to get them. Sure they are. They are, in many instances, very deceptively encouraged to want many things that are of no constructive value. Things that are of no constructive value. Things that they do not need and that no person can use constructively in the manner that is generally considered acceptable. You are an odd duck. You know that, right? You're describing, if you will, ghetto culture right now. This wasn't encouraged from the outside. As a matter of fact, it's puzzling to most people who witness it. Racists sometimes ridicule their subjects because they do not have or do not want to have many things that the racists say the subject should strive to get. The racists say that their subjects, non-white people, are backwards if they do not want and strive to get all the things that the racists proceed to encourage their subjects to develop a desire for those things. He hates capitalism. We can see that now. Once the subjects develop the desire, the racist act deliberately to directly or indirectly discourage the subjects from getting these things desired by any means other than stealing, robbing, or killing. No, you just said that they do not inherently want them. They cannot then be encouraged and then denied ability. This is a madness that you're saying was enforced upon people. No, friend, this is something that has happened. The racist then acts to punish their subjects because of the manner that they, the subjects, use to acquire the things they were trained to desire. Under white supremacy, non-white people are directly or indirectly encouraged to steal those things that are of use to a relative. Under white supremacy, non-white people are directly or indirectly encouraged to steal those things that are of use or for a relatively short period. Sorry. All things considered, it is better that no person steal from or rob anyone at any time for any reason. This is one of the best ways to start to produce justice and to show how nothing is important without it. I would agree. I mean, don't steal things. Of course, your definitions are as bizarre as I would have expected. Stop robbing. To rob a person is to use direct bodily harm and or use the threat of direct bodily harm to take from any person any one or more things that he or she possesses, and then to use the things taken to please the mind and or make comfortable the body of the person doing the talking. I think you meant taking. To steal from a person is to take something from that person without that person knowing one or more of the following: at the exact time of the taking, what was taken, when it was taken, where it was taken, why it was taken, who took it. A person who robs has the same basic intention as a person who steals. Neither robbing nor stealing helps to promote justice. A person should not rob for the same reasons that he should not steal. So now we know what the Social Justice Warrior Code book looks like, because he's constantly talking about promoting justice. Stop fighting. People should not fight as long as they can talk to each other, and they should talk to each other in a manner as to minimize conflict, which is essentially this entire previous list. When people cannot talk to each other without trying to maim or do other bodily harm to each other, they should then do everything they can to minimize or eliminated contact. You have started just peppering this with spelling errors. When you have no contact with each other, directly or indirectly, they cannot have conflict with each other. Yes, congratulations, you're arguing for segregation. Good job. There is no justifiable violence by persons against each other. There is only justifiable counter-violence, which is justifiable violence, you fucking idiot. It is correct for all persons to do all that they can to avoid being involved in any form of violence. It is also correct for all persons to try and keep circumstances from becoming so imbalanced that counter-violence is required to promote justice. People who exist in subjugation to white supremacy should only use counter-violence in the following purposes: protect themselves or others from acts of deliberate, immediate, direct, and functionally unavoidable violence by any person or persons. In protecting themselves or others, only a minimum of necessary counter-violence could be used. It is violence, you just keep putting counter in front of it for no apparent reason. To enact maximum emergency compensatory justice. Oh yeah. Get real comfortable with that. Number 9. Stop killing. When forced to do so... Oh, wow. Number 9. Stop killing. Exceptions. When forced to do so in direct defense of self, others, and or major property, or except when forced to do these things through the enactment of maximum emergency compensatory justice, which is a nice word for killing whitey, by the way. That's just a really nice term for just kill the whites. Even in direct and immediate defense of self, of others, and or in direct protection of major property, it is best to avoid killing and maiming. Killing any aggressor should only be done when there is apparently no other way to put an immediate stop to his or her aggression, and when every reasonable effort has been made to escape the immediate fury of the aggression. It is correct for a victim of racism, just non-white people, to willfully and deliberately kill and or execute no persons except racists, white supremacists, or, white people. And when done, that victim of racism should then kill him or herself. This is an argument for suicide bombing, you lunatic. Note, see detailed description of maximum emergency compensatory justice in a portion of this work entitled Area 9, War. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Number 10. Stop squabbling amongst yourselves and asking racists, white supremacists, to settle your problems. One of the major non-just acts that racists commit to establish situations that cause and or encourage non-white people to squabble amongst themselves. You just laid out a bunch of rules for within this population to stop them from squabbling amongst themselves, and now you're claiming white people have just promoted this to exist. This might just be something that exists between people, you loon. Racists do not approve of any fights or arguments between non-white people that non-white people settle amongst themselves without the so-called help of racists. Racists do not knowingly allow any non-white person or persons to do anything that does not directly or indirectly help promote racism, white supremacy. Racists approve of and encourage non-white people to fight each other, kill each other, and squabble with each other, name-call each other, and or do anything that helps non-white people to remain confused and non-constructive. No, it's a huge burden on the tax system. We'd prefer you stop. Really well and truly, we'd prefer you stop. Racists, however, are not in favor of the extermination of all non-white people. They are in favor of many non-white people being killed, but not all of them. They have no desire for non-white people to become extinct. If non-white people became extinct, there would be no way white people could practice racism. At least they could not practice it in the form of white supremacy. Racists want non-white people to continue to exist. It is not possible to practice white supremacy if non-white people do not exist. So that's why you can't claim any sorts of genocide, because we want you to just exist just to make us feel better. That's lunacy. Absolute lunacy. The racists want non-white people to continue to be their subjects and victims. While using non-white people as victims, the racists particularly want the non-white people to squabble amongst themselves, and they want the non-white people to beg them, the racists, to settle these squabbles. This is one of the major ways that racists have of maintaining their power. They also do this to prove their power, feed their egos, and amuse themselves. It's not amusing to break up constant conflict. That's insane. In order to eliminate racism and produce justice or balance between people, all victims of racism should, in all of their relationship with each other, think, speak, and act in support of the following 3-word suggestion. Minimize the conflict. No contact, no conflict. He's arguing for segregation. And then he's arguing for war. He's arguing for non-white unity. These are the rules of the non-white society, which are essentially just mimicking the rules of supposedly white society, even though they've been handed down from Semitic peoples. But no, this is fine. This is all just completely fine. Thanks, ladies and gents. This has been Hagbard Celine. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown or further analysis of Neely Fuller Jr.'s bullshit. I'll be back next week. Stay safe, good luck, and goodbye.